And the Democratic nominee for New York City mayor says he will discourage people from using the term globalize the intifada. Zoran Mamdani has faced criticism on the campaign trail for previously refusing to condemn the phrase, which has been seen as a call to violence against Jews. Mamdani's shifting language comes amid a general election battle against Mayor Eric Adams and former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who are running as independents, and the Republican nominee, Curtis Sliwa. Willie.
New York Times reporter covering Wall Street, Lauren Hirsch, is following the latest on all this. She joins us now, also with us, president of the National Action Network and the host of MSNBC's Politics Nation, Reverend Al Sharpton. Good morning to you both. So, Lauren, let's pick up on this meeting with Zoran Mamdani yesterday. Business leaders in New York City, some heavyweights in the room, some who decided not to attend. Jamie Dimon had a scheduling conflict. He was not there. What did they hear from him? Did he sort of assuage their suspicions at all about him? What was it like in the room?
They heard a really charming, affable guy who was well prepared. He made jokes, he made self-deprecating jokes, but they did not hear someone who changed his policies. And so if you had concerns about his economic policies going into the meeting, you had the same concerns going out. For some people, the charm and his disarming nature was enough to calm people a little bit. For others, the fact that he was very much sticking to his policies further enraged them. So there was a bit of a division coming out of the room in terms of response. But in the room, it was mostly cordial. It was mostly pleasant. There was one quite pointed question effectively saying, how can you tell us you're not going to drive business out of New York? And he danced around it a bit. I think his message was, I believe strongly in my policies, but I don't think they're bad for business. And I think many of the business leaders saw a little bit of a disconnect in how you connect those two dots. But overall, they found a nice, charming guy, and they were, they appreciated the fact that he wanted to meet with them.
This is a guy who he's not trying to run from who he is, which is, I'm a democratic socialist. He said just a week ago, billionaires should not exist.
Yeah.
When asked, there were some billionaires in the room. He said, I'm going to tax you more. That's true. But I believe it's the best thing for our city. What about the story that Mika just walked us through, where he said, okay, I won't use the phrase globalize the intifada, and I will discourage others from using it, almost sort of grudgingly, because he's refused to condemn that language even as recently in the last few days.
Right. So that answer came after he was being pushed on Israel and his views on that by the CEO of Pfizer. And my understanding is it was a fairly long response before he got to it. Some people were very happy to hear that. And as I said, some people, it's never going to be enough. So others weren't mollified. And by the way, one person I spoke to didn't even hear it. It was interesting. I called him back. I was like, did he say this? He was like, no, I didn't hear it. So I think there is an element of almost hearing what you want to hear as you go through this process.
And it'll be interesting to watch if he does, maybe he's moderating on this, or there are other positions he also takes more of a slightly centrist tact as he heads to a general election. That would obviously be a play that we've seen from other progressives. Also of note, he really praised Boston Mayor Michelle Wu, who's wildly popular in Boston, and distanced himself from Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, decidedly less so, Rev. But he also enters a race here where the setup seems to really favor him. First of all, anytime you have a D next to your name, you're the Democratic nominee in a deep blue city, that is helpful. He's got that. But if Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams both persist in this race and are both vying for the same sort of centrist vote, they split that only helps Mamdani.
No, I think the fact that Andrew Cuomo has now announced he's in the race, which I, among others, asked him not to. Let's have a one-on-one. The fact that he's in makes it highly unlikely that Zoran does not win. I talked to some people last night who were part of the partnership meeting, and they were relatively impressed with Zoran. They had very serious concerns. And they were impressed. He's very charismatic, which we found. He came twice to National Action Network. And some of them agreed with him, some disagreed. But they say he's a lot more personable and more informed than they thought. I've said to him when he's come met with us that, in my early days, you would say things or identify with people that say things that you should just say, that is not right. That is not what I meant. He went as far as saying he will tell people not to say it again. but you've got to say it's not right. It's not right to talk about things or say things that is morally wrong. So I think that he will, in many ways, not give up what he believes, but then he has to be judged by what he believes, and I think he's willing to take the penalty for that.
So Laura, in a similar vein, the people you talk to in that room, you know, who might be more inclined to support an Adams or a Cuomo, what's their view on the two of them both staying in and complicating things?
Not happy. I mean, a lot of Wall Street donors have really been pushing one, or for them, ideally both, to drop. They want a real competitor. So they were unhappy that Cuomo decided to stay. And of course, Cuomo still has supporters, and he will continue to have supporters. But I think they see a little bit of writing on what they think is the writing on the wall, given the race as it stands now.
And so, what is their fear if Mamdani does become the mayor of New York City? I mean, they sort of vocalized them in that room yesterday, but what are their specific fears about what happens to the city?
So one of the biggest things that I hear is just lack of experience. You know, you can talk about taxes, you can talk about his other policies, but they really wonder whether or not he just has the experience to run the city. Like, these people are managers, they know the challenges that come with that. There's, of course, concerns about him freezing rent, about taxes, about New York City's competitiveness. There is a lot of conversation around people fleeing New York, and it's easy to dismiss it, and of course it is hard to pick up and leave, but we did see some companies do that during the pandemic, and it has become easier with remote work and the world that we're living in. So I do think we will see some companies. Will it be an exodus? That's not clear, but I think there is a genuine concern it could impact the New York economy. And then I should say crime. It's a really big focal point for them, and of course plays into whether or not people, would want to leave.
Given some of his past statements about the police in this city, but again, he's trying to bring back to the center slightly. It's going to be hard to run from some of his positions.
Yeah.
New York Times reporter Lauren Hirsch. Lauren, thanks so much. Good to have you on.